Hi, and welcome to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, and it is our first show back of the season, and we are so stinking excited. I'm not on my own, but I am without my typical co-host, Judy. So Judy had some other commitments, and so she's off today. But I have the best set mates with me today. I have Lisa Mitchell. Yay! She's our official co-host today.
Yay.
And always our favorite, and has become a bit of a tradition. Mayor Adam Lorden.
Yay!
Thank you. Well, thank you. Well, I feel like saying welcome to you as well. Sort of the gig. Congrats on season 9.
I don't know how that happened.
Wow.
I don't know how we got here. It seems like it just
can.
started, last week. But then I look back at all the amazing guests that we've had over 9 years, and I'm so excited. And we were talking just before air, and Mayor Lorden, I think, I'm 99.99% sure, our most frequent guest.
You know what's interesting is I'm just crunching the numbers here. I moved back to Miramichi in the summer of 2014. And you would have gone to air that fall. So
in October.
Yes, so it's a good marker. I've been back as long as you've been on the air.
There you go. See,
meant to be.
I know.
Meant to be. People,
I know. And
meant to be.
He's our most frequent and very loved guest. So
well,
we're
congratulations
so happy.
on season 9.
Thank you, and it's because of the wonderful community that we have, and across the province, really. Like we've been embraced, and never imagined that we would be still doing this 9 years later when we started all those years ago. Funny little story of how we started. So we started the idea started in 2011. Audrey Lynch had a show called Drop Line, and it was on Wednesday nights, and she would have guests on, community updates, that kind of thing. And Judy and I came on to talk about the inaugural Dragon Boat Festival. I know.
I remember that.
And the producer at the time said, "Oh, the three of you were so great together. Did you ever think about doing a talk show?" And we were like, "Oh, sure, yeah." Here we are. Here we are. So it's very exciting.
What you think about, you bring about, girl.
I know.
And you guys have done such a great job at Vero profiling so much of what happens in the community, and we know this, all of us, from our involvement in community, that there is way more that goes on than people know about. And communication is always that challenging piece of how do you get the word out. And so you guys have done a great job over 9 years of letting people know and celebrating all of the wonderful things happening in Miramichi and around the province.
Well, and you're right. There is so much that happens, and we think when we're in the midst of all of those things, doing those things and working on those things, that everybody knows what's going on, right? But it doesn't happen that way.
Right.
So it's been a great honor for Judy and I and Audrey before us to really be able to share that message and across the province too, because we get to share it with everybody and hopefully bring people a little bit more our way.
Amen to that, sister.
So summer, although not officially over on the calendar, is over. We're back to school. Lisa,
my wardrobe tells me it's over.
I know.
It's what goes to the basement and comes up from the basement.
Yeah.
Summer is over.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well,
wardrobe is changing.
But all of the theme of summer 2023 is, did it even really happen?
Oh, the weather was not
No,
good.
silver linings. Now, my flower garden has never been more luscious. There are things growing that I didn't even know I planted this year. I have the most beautiful garden. So rain, silver linings, the rain was good.
You need the rain, you need the sun.
Yeah.
I know my garden didn't do so well, Lisa. I would say I was traveling a lot this summer for work and I guess a bit for pleasure too. I'm sure we'll chat about that. But my garden, it was an off year, let's say that. I got a few tomatoes, the zucchinis. It's impossible to not be able to grow them, but nothing else really turned out.
That's the only thing I can grow, the impossible to not grow.
Yes.
Those are the things.
So when I moved into my house 2 and a bit years ago, my lawn was not great, we'll say, and all of my neighbors have spectacular lawns.
Oh, you live in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I do. And they are so dedicated to their lawns. They're beautiful. And I felt really bad for my neighbors because they all, 2 of them abut next to mine, right? So I would look over and go, "Oh,
I'm so sorry."
And you could really clearly see the delineation of our property. But this summer, my lawn looks fantastic because it got so, we had put, fertilizer on it and everything, and it got so much rain, and it looks fantastic. So I'm not as ashamed.
Yeah, look at me. Look at my lawn.
You guys are familiar, with my house, which is a beautiful heritage home in the community, so owned to the Kerr family. And thankfully for me, the entire yard is lined with shrubs.
Right.
So nobody can see that my lawn is indeed mostly just weeds.
Yes.
Luckily, weeds are green too.
If it wasn't for the weeds, if it wasn't for the weeds.
Go out and color it with a felt marker.
I love my fence.
Yeah. I know, sometimes fences are great.
Good fences make good neighbors. That might be the
So
quote
how
of
was
the
your
day.
summer though, Adam? Like what did you do?
Summer was great, and I mean, again, we tease about the weather, and I am an August baby. I am a summer man at heart. Like, it just is my season to come alive and feel renewed and enjoying that sunshine. And we did get some of that. And I was really lucky this year personally, because of course, being mayor here in our community is not a full-time job. So I do have my day job as well, which is producing and directing and television and media content. This summer, we had the dream gig, my company, and we were executing producing the summer tourism captures, the filming for Tourism New Brunswick.
Amazing.
So I got to go around the province, about 3 or 4 different blocks of shooting. We were shooting mountain biking in Campbellton. We were shooting cane zoo down in Capellet. And so many wonderful New Brunswick moments in between. So we were really fortunate to spend the summer on the road across New Brunswick and being really creative, which is, there's nothing better.
And little clarification there is enough work, and he does work almost full-time as the mayor. Let's just,
That is
it
true.
is a full-time
I
job.
can attest to that.
However,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is not
Seen come and go.
designated as a full-time job, nor is it paid that way.
That is true. And
nor is council, right? So all of us
funny.
work.
nor
a
is
full-time-
being the head of the business
Right,
association.
so
downtown.
all of us work full-time jobs on top of that piece. So although we are very passionate and love it, and do get a little bit of compensation for it, it is deemed part-time with full-time work.
Right?
That's right. Thank you for the flag.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what did you guys get up to?
Summer, this is going to sound so sad and happy at the same time. After 12 years, I finally got away with my husband. We had a little family trip with his family to Nova Scotia, nowhere exotic. Welcome home, Judy, by the way, if you're watching.
Yeah.
So we did Halifax, Peggy's Cove, the South Shore. So that was a lovely getaway. It was such minor little thing compared to everybody else's exotic excursions, but I was happy to do that, and we had a perfect weekend for that. And of course, just this past weekend, we took a gang of people and we went to Acadie Lumina. Oh my stars!
I've been dying.
Holy
I know, and I've
Yeah.
heard so much about it.
You need to book.
Yes.
You need to book. You guys got to go together. Go park. Go twice.
We have been to some exciting things
Everybody
together, yes.
watching. It was, it was amazing light installation. It was heritage. It was storytelling. It was, for me, I knew that I was going to walk into something that was visually stimulating and spectacular, but the audio for me was what really caught me.
So now, before we go on, I want to quickly interject for the folks at home watching who might not be familiar with what this is. And so the Acadie Lumina is this amazing light and sound artistic installation down at the Pays de la Seguin in the Bucktouche area. I've been told, I was invited to the opening and couldn't make it, but that this is one of only 20 shows like this in the entire world, and one of only 2 in Canada. And it's going to run through the fall, I believe, into October. So people can still go onto their website and get tickets. I'm giving that plug so everybody can understand as you're going to keep describing it, Lisa, because it's something that we've been hearing the buzz about. But again, not everybody maybe has heard that. And but I would encourage everybody to go check it out. And it really, I've heard it tells the story in some ways of the Acadian culture.
It absolutely does. Now, I have some French. I'm not bilingual. It would help if I had more French. It is presented in the French language, which is fine. But the emotion of it overtook me, and it was really filling my soul. Yeah. And Adam and you and I work really well together, because I'll do those little interpersonal, like, it filled my soul, and Adam's like, and this is how you get tickets.
Yes.
So thank you for that, because as Adam knows, I can go on and on about my feelings.
But that's the sign of good art, right?
Yeah.
Because art should be, transcendent to language and culture, and if it's done well, it will speak to us in any language, right?
Yeah. So
that's
the
exciting.
audio caught me off guard. I was filled I was filled.
Interesting.
I was filled emotionally.
Wow, I can't wait now. Now, of course, I have to put that on the agenda to go, because I love the fact that you say that, yes, of course, it would have helped you a little bit to be able to speak more French, but that it didn't matter really because you still felt it no matter what, and you saw it, right?
And there was minimal audio compared to the visual,
right?
And the walk through the woods was wonderful. It was a beautiful summer night. It was hot and damp, and it almost felt like you were kind of suffering a little bit in the summer woods the way that they did, and it was lovely.
Well, you've immersed me in that feeling now, so I have to go. That's amazing.
Book the tickets, Vero.
I know, I'm going to do it now. I've got 3 phones on my desk. I may as well do it now.
Use one of them for good.
I know. Well, I love that that you got away this summer with your husband, and that you got to enjoy your family, and and we kind of take for granted though that we have some really world-class destinations within a few hours drive.
Absolutely.
Right? We forget that part because we're like, oh yeah, it's Peggy's Cove, but like amazing.
You know what it is, because when I was there, I felt like I was walking amongst the United Nations.
Right.
I heard almost every language of the world.
Imagine.
Italian, German, Czechoslovakia, who else? And I don't, you guys know me. I was chatting with everybody.
Of
Hi,
course.
how are you?
I
Where are
would
you from?
expect
What
no
are you
less.
doing?
Yeah.
And then some people didn't understand me, and I was complimenting on their dogs, and I thought, am I offending them? And then my husband said, they probably can't understand you because they're probably from another country.
Right.
Well,
But it was amazing, the international representation at
beautiful.
At Peggy's Cove.
Well, and I think too, Lisa, one thing you mentioned is, certainly for me as I get a little older too, and we stay perpetually busy, is to carve that time. I always try, we always have 1 week, Evan and I at least, that we'll get away together, ideally to a cottage, but it's not even so much about the where, but the who.
Yes.
Like, like we could just be in our own backyard as long as we just have that time, to be together and to be present and to do some of our favorite things. And, we love to cook a nice meal or go swimming or have a fire. And we've got pretty great places to do that around here too. And we were talking about some of that before we came on. But even here locally, every summer, there seems to be more and more to do.
Absolutely, like it never ends here. Like it was such a fantastic summer from a lot of perspectives. I did have some really amazing adventures this year, this summer.
You're like a professional athlete now.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
And by the way,
you were in Halifax. I was in Halifax.
You're Ironmaning, you're mud running.
About my hair,
and
you were messaging me about your
Spartan
weekend, and I was like, what?
So I've always been one of those. I am not a fantastic athlete, but I've always wanted to. If something sparks my interest, right, I want to give it a try, right? And so one of those things, I've been thinking about it since 2018, was a Spartan race, and it terrifies me still to this day, and I've done one, because of how tough they are, right? And I mean, I'm not your typical athletic build, we'll go with, okay? And so, although I am incredibly active, I walk 5 to 7 kilometers a day, and I'm constantly on the move and work or whatever. But I wanted to do it, and so actually my boss and some coworkers signed up with me in Ottawa. And so I traveled up for the weekend, and it was every bit as terrifying as I expected it to be.
Yeah.
But I do recommend that everybody try it, and it took me forever. Seriously, it took me 2 hours and 26 minutes to complete it.
But you completed it.
I did, and that was and I wasn't last. In my age group or in the whole thing, right? So my age group was one thing. I was 19th out of 20, but I wasn't last.
There you go.
Although I worry that the last person, that the 20th person was the person they took off the hill on the ATV and the stretcher. But anyway, it's okay.
But that wasn't you.
It wasn't
Slow
me.
club.
Right? So I mean, fantastic, and it truly does challenge you in ways that there are 20 obstacles on that course, including there's the 5K that you run. 2 kilometers of it was straight uphill, Calabogie ski hill, which did not expect. I don't know why I didn't research that better. And then I, because I was so slow, the rest of my teammates finished it in record time, but I did most of it in the rain, in the pouring rain. So it was kind of sad as I'm trucking along in my last kilometer, but they were all there at the end cheering me on, and so it was a fantastic feeling. And you know what? Next year I know what to expect, so I'll train different.
But the filmmaker in me says that, of course, you had to finish it in the rain. Like that, it just makes the moment that much more epic, Vera, like the bigger the challenge, the bigger the feeling at the end.
Absolutely.
And with any type of, pushing yourself, exercise or any type of challenge or pushing yourself, I just love you got to work through it, and it can be really tough and mentally as hard as physically, but doesn't it feel great when you achieve the goal?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was my big thing, right? Because most of it I did by myself, because my teammates are very athletic and fantastic. And I said, don't wait for me. Like, I don't want to slow you down. I'm okay. And so they plowed on. They'd finished like in 50 minutes, and an hour and a half was the longest. And so I was out there by myself.
You were savoring.
I was.
You were savoring the moment.
I was cursing.
They don't understand.
I was cursing in some instances, but that's okay.
Well,
we'll see you training on University Avenue.
Yeah.
That's the biggest job.
that one.
Right? I can barely walk it. You're going to run it.
I've got a very similar, but much less sort of dramatically large story from when I was in high school, actually. I went with a couple of other girls from my high school. We got selected to go to the Legion Leadership Camp, which was a big thing that we had heard about year over year. And what they didn't tell us was that leadership camp was actually just code for sports camp.
Oh, no.
And you guys know me, I don't identify really as an athlete. I come from a family with a lot of athletes, but I didn't get the genes. I mean, Sonny Newman's over here in studio. He's coming on later, and he's an all-star athlete coming off some big baseball wins this summer.
Yes.
But here we were, and we had to do, I think it was a 5K road race, but every day was literally just nonstop sports. And the 5K road race, I did come in last.
That's okay.
And we were like, they didn't tell us. They didn't tell us it was sports camp. But, we made it through the week. And
it
was
a bait and switch.
It was.
So
I didn't read the fine print.
We're heading to break. We've got a great show lined up, of course. I'm so glad to have all of my guests on today. So don't go too far. Grab a little hot toddy, because it's chilly out there today. And we'll see you right after the break. We'll see you in a couple minutes. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, joined of course by my amazing co-host Lisa Mitchell, and our special guest for the last segment and now this segment, Mayor Adam Lorton.
Hello again.
Yeah, I know. It's exciting to be back.
We just kept chatting during the break.
I know, we did.
So much chat.
Well, and it was such a great first segment to head back into our 9th year and 9th season. It's hard to believe that here we are again, but it's a rainy all day here in Miramichi. I hope you're seeing a little bit of sun across the province. Although I think we're probably going to get hit with a bit of rain over the next...
Anyone tuning in to Have a Chat right now is not even considering the outdoors. Right. It's so sunny where they are right now.
You are right.
It's so sunny we're in their world right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So thank you, Steve. It's so good. So this segment, we're actually going to delve into your official role with the city as mayor, and you've been mayor a number of years now.
Yes, I know. We're putting the hat back on for this segment,
yeah.
And it's hard to believe, Vero. I was in a meeting this morning as well, and they said, how long have you been mayor now? And I said, well, since 2016. So 7 years in.
I know,
now
that's
at
incredible.
This point.
Yeah, that's incredible. So tell us a little bit about you, like, for those, I can't imagine that there's anybody that doesn't know you at this point, but like when, a little bit about you personally, and of course, in your role as a mayor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, I've now been mayor since 2016. I first got elected to council in 2015, so I served 1 year on council. And then, I guess Will ran again in 2016, was the deputy mayor, acting mayor, became the mayor, and have been since then. And it's been a really exciting time, and so for me, as people would know, I grew up in Miramichi, born and raised here. I left, I had my away period where I was in Halifax for university, and then I lived in Toronto for almost 10 years, which is where I started in my professional career in television and media. but came back home in 2014. Of course, people would know because of my mom. And have chosen to stay and been able to really get involved in the community. And even before the mayor days, Lisa and I were working together on the MyPie board, the Miramichi Young Professionals and Involved Entrepreneurs. And you know, I think we did a bit. I was on the Irish Festival Committee in those early days, really dove back into community, right? And on the Camp Sheldrick board. And one thing led to another, and it's been really now 7 years in. I think we have seen, and not because of me or because of councils, but because of a lot of people, and we've been some of those people. We've seen a lot of exciting progress and change in the community. You know, coming out of some losses in the early 2000s and an economic recession, but in the last decade or so, what we started to see is the community renewing itself. Certainly, the Pay Center was a basis for that, but around that, you know, industries are growing, the population's growing again. I love to talk about that. We can't say it enough. But it's been a really rewarding and enriching experience, and also to contribute, of course, provincially. I work closely with the other 8 mayors through the Cities Association. I represent New Brunswick on the federal the SCM board, the National Municipal Advocacy Group. So it's been a wonderful experience of advocating for Miramichi and learning from people all around and bringing that home too. Because there's, you know, so many things that we face or challenges. Someone else is going through that, and I'm a big believer in, you know, best practices and learning from others, and then bringing what you need. Sometimes you got to customize it for yourself, but let's learn from what people do well and do those things here too. You know,
absolutely. Agreed. So, a lot has, since the last time you were on, I'm sure you have updated the community on everything Miramichi, but I'm going to ask you about an update for the multiplex. Where are we with that?
Well, this is a very exciting update to give, and as you know, everybody knows, it's been years in the making, and this file or project started before our time, before your time and my time, Vero. So it's been over a decade now, plus, that from the idea of recognizing that our recreational facilities were aging and we needed to come up with a plan for a new centralized rec facility to replace some of our current facilities that are the oldest, some of them in the province. And that's the life cycle of any type of facility, right? So over the years, we put together the plan based on the needs of the community. I think that's important for people to know. It's based on what we know we need in the community. And of course, things aren't cheap these days in any sense, and this includes rec facilities. So, but you know, we're building what we need. And we finally secured the funding partnership earlier this year. I think it was late spring of the federal and provincial government. So we applied for that funding partnership in 2018. So it took us even 5 years to work through the systems. And I could speak about why I think it shouldn't take that long, but we won't. That's not the topic today. But we secured the funding. And so now, as you know, Vero, you were there just last week. We've started the design process. We have onboarded the construction engineer that's going to lead construction of the project for us. And so last week at council, the renderings now, in the past we've had renderings, we've had images. Those were sort of very high level or inspiration. It will look kind of like this. But the drawings that we saw last week, these are the drawings of our facility. So we're starting to actually see the design of Miramichi's future recreational facility. And so that design work is going to be ongoing now over the fall, with an expectation that we'll be breaking ground to build in spring of 2024. And the way that we're doing this, with the construction engineer, it will allow us to sort of move further quicker than we would normally on a traditional build. So the expected opening of the building now is about fall of 2026. So there's a lot to do over the next few years as it relates to building the building. Of course, it'll be located over in the Douglastown area in our regional commercial district. So there's also around the multiplex a lot of commercial land that's now going to be available for new development in the community as well. We're going to be sort of working towards a sod turning this fall and giving out those details of that available opportunities for economic development. And of course, we're going to get to work privately fundraising about $4 million that will contribute to the overall cost of the facility as well. So we're moving forward in a number of ways, but we've got all the funding in hand, and now it's just a matter of doing the work. And in a few short years, because we know time will go quickly, our community will be opening the doors on a modern, new, energy-efficient, centralized recreation facility that we can all be proud of.
Excellent.
I know,
Excellent.
So exciting, and now that land is also going to be, developed with the central recreation facility, and there's some opportunity for others to come in and develop around it, and we're already getting some, pokes from some companies that are looking to bring in some new things here, which is a wonderful thing.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Adam, for that update. Thank you.
Exciting. One of the challenges that we see and hear about pretty much daily in our roles, and I know that you do it with the downtown and with your business as well, is the challenge around housing on the entire continuum of housing, whether it be affordable or social or new builds or whatever it may be. So, especially our vacancy rate here in Miramichi is so low. But there's been a ton of development over the last couple of years. But what's happening at the municipal level to see an improvement in that area?
Now, this one you might have to cut me off on, because housing really is a passion for me. I'd say it's we have a lot of priorities.
Absolutely.
This is probably the priority that takes up most of my time and effort, because it is so important in so many ways. And as you mentioned, Councillor Vero, it's it is a need. And we had a low vacancy rate in this community for a very long time,
Absolutely.
even before the housing crisis that you are now hearing about all across the country in
Absolutely.
communities big and small. And quite honestly, there are a number of factors to that. So up until the last couple of years, we've had a declining population for over a couple of decades.
Yep.
So not much new housing stock has been built in Miramichi because of the declining and aging population, right? So thankfully, we've reversed that. The other thing that's started to happen, which are really positive things, are again that the population is growing again. The local economy is stronger than it's been. Mm-hmm. So we have a growing population. More and more people are moving back to Miramichi, whether as young families to raise their children, to retire, and more are moving from around the world to make Miramichi their home. And we need the labor force that comes with that too. But the challenge is that we don't have enough housing for now and for the folks that are continuing to come and want to come, and in particularly in affordable housing segments. So we've been at this now for a couple of years, and the reality is housing is a file that is the responsibility, from my perspective, of all levels of government, and it requires a multifaceted approach. So there's not going to be one thing that's going to fix this, but for a number of years now, we have in place housing incentives. So we'll give $10,000 a unit to anybody who's going to build new affordable units in the city of Miramichi, and or units in our downtown core. So try to create that density that'll help support local downtown business.
Absolutely.
Also, when you live in the core, you have access to the services. Maybe you don't need as much a car.
Yep.
So, we're talking about, those are extra costs. Maybe not everybody can afford that, but if they're centrally located, it's good for the people living there and for the community and the economy in the downtowns. So we've got those things in place. This fall, as you know, we're working towards putting in place an accessory dwelling unit adjustment on our zoning. So anybody would, as of right, they wouldn't need to come in and apply for a 4-month zoning process if they want to add an extra housing unit in their garage or their basement. So we think that that's really going to help unlock a lot of housing quickly, in particular for students, which is a vulnerable population, and for seniors. So perhaps, you've got aging or elderly parents that it's time to give up their home. You don't necessarily want to put them into a long-term care facility, or maybe you can't get into one of those either with those waiting lists. But it's the ability in particular to just create these additional units, which are usually smaller and more affordable for people. And there's money coming down the pipeline, of course, from the federal accelerator program. So this we've applied for, and we'll get word shortly this fall, but this will unlock millions of dollars in additional funding support for incentives, for potentially giving away land, for the resources, staffing resources to help get projects approved quicker. And that's going to make a big impact. So right now we've got about 200 or 300 units of housing at some form of being developed.
Right.
Our goal over the next 3 years is 700 new units. And I believe that we can and will achieve it with everybody working together with the supports of other levels of government. So there's a lot of work to do. But from my perspective, not only is housing a human right, and we need to make sure that everybody has adequate housing, but also this is an economic imperative. So there's a growth opportunity happening for not just Miramichi, but communities around Atlantic Canada. And we can have as much or as little of this growth opportunity as we can build housing to facilitate. So it really is that bottleneck, and the more we do, the better long-term success there'll be for the community and the local economy. And so it's just from a social and economic perspective incredibly important, and we're well on our way, but we've got a lot more that we're going to keep doing, and of course working to get the other levels of government doing the same also. Absolutely. So I'm sorry if that was too loud.
But to hear you're passionate about it, and as you're passionate about it, it will instill other people's passion about it and their understanding about it. Because if there's one thing I can say, Adam always explains things to make it understandable, easy to understand, and why things are important and necessary, and your passion comes through. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And if we can build on that and talk, because I know that we've chatted about this too, that piece of the continuum for the most vulnerable populations, so homelessness and transitional housing, and we know that we have these challenges, Lisa, in ways that we've never seen before in this community. And there are a lot of ways that manifests itself, right? And it impacts local businesses, it impacts families, of course, of loved ones. There's a strong correlation between mental health and addiction issues and homelessness, but it's not the only factor. And I know that we're supposed to be getting an update this week from the provincial government on their homelessness plan, which will guide, as a city, as a municipality, we haven't traditionally been involved in these areas, but we know, just like housing, there's a role for us to play now. And so we have to have the province leading and working with them and local community groups too. And Miramichi Housing Solutions does a lot of good work in that area. There's others doing that work too, but we should get a big piece of an understanding provincially in the next week or two as to how the provincial strategy is going to look to help dealing with homelessness issues, and we're going to be rolling up our sleeves and making sure that we have putting solutions in place and doing what we can do to help address those issues too, and on that that part of the spectrum.
So all good, positive things.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And there is still so much work to be done, but so much work that has been done. So we have a couple minutes left for our last couple of questions.
Okay, well, I want to touch on something that happened in Miramichi. Adam, I want you to touch on Filipino Extravaganza Festival that happened
my favorite story of the summer. Yeah,
because
I'll do my Coles Notes version, and I'm not always good at that, but we'll try. So we know that Miramichi is the city of festivals, and we had a wonderful summer. Once again, so many of the festivals are back in full force now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you really see the crowds back too. So
absolutely.
A quick shout out as well to you, Vero, and your team for the 40th anniversary of the Irish Festival. Certainly a big milestone, and it felt like it was bigger than ever. And the JMH reunion that was sort of partnered with that. The crowds, I'd never seen them like that.
It was record setting for sure.
And so building on that, one of the new pieces this year was the Fiesta Extravaganza, which is a Filipino cultural celebration. It's actually a national event. So it happens in 6 different communities across Canada, and mostly in really big cities, in particular in Ontario. We're talking Toronto, Montreal, Markham, Niagara Falls. So this national group that organized this event wanted to expand east and west, so Vancouver in the west, and they had planned on going to Halifax. And the local Filipino community, who by the way are now our largest visible minority population in Miramichi, over 1,000 Filipinos in our community, they went out to the National Filipino Chamber of Commerce and said, we want to do this in Miramichi and we can do this. And they came down and we all met, and they gave the event to Miramichi. So we had, over the course of a weekend late in August, 2,000 plus people came out. It was down at the old former base.
It was amazing.
Full cultural experience. We had the federal minister of small business stop by. They had Filipino celebrities came in from New York. It was unbelievable and so awesome. And it's now going to be an annual event, and it is open for everybody. So we're going to see them back next year. You know what it's like when you're organizing something. The first year, you just got to do it and get it under your belt.
Right. Figure it out.
It still went incredibly well,
Yeah.
but they're going to be back next year. They're going to be an annual part of the festival circuit here in Miramichi. It'll be bigger and better than ever, and this is what it's all about, right? Is newcomer populations not just here, but actively involved in building community.
Yeah.
It just makes me so proud what they achieved.
Well, and I loved it. I got to take in parts of it and really just enjoyed everything, and learning, right? It's all about learning. So anyway, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We had a great time talking to Mayor Lorden, and so much more to come after the break. Don't go too far. We have another great guest coming, but now it's time to grab a snack with the hot toddy he had from the earlier break. We'll see you right back after this break. Hi, and welcome back to Have a Chat. I am your host today, Veronique Arsenault, joined of course by my fantastic co-host, Lisa Mitchell.
Thank you for having me.
I messed up your last name there, Mitchell.
That's all right.
Well, how did I do that?
It's all right.
I know.
Either way,
it
I'm
happens.
here. No matter what you call me, I'm still here. I'm not leaving until the end of the show.
Judy will be back next week. She had some other adventures to take care of today, so we'll be glad to have her back next year. Next year. Wow, I am off.
See you,
today.
Judy.
I'm
Bye.
off today. She'll be back next week. So we kicked off. I was thinking about we were kicking off our 9th year, and that's where it all went. It all went wrong, but that's okay. That's what happens when you're on TV.
Right?
Right.
We're just having so much fun. We're losing our vocabulary.
So now we have an amazing guest, and it's actually his first time joining us today, so we're pretty excited about that. But Sonny Newman is joining us on set today, a business development manager at NBCC. Welcome, Sonny.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's my first rodeo, but I'm sure you guys will get me through it.
I'm excited you're here.
Absolutely. Well, as you can see, you can pretty much do anything on TV and be okay.
Hey, you kicked it off good for me. I wasn't nervous at first, but our mayor, Adam Lorden, did such a good job. I mean, brought a little nerves about, but hey, we're here and it's all good.
It's all good. Well, and he is a pro at it, right?
He is a pro.
Very literally.
Yeah,
As a
literally
musician,
literally
he's
our
just the
mayor.
opening act. You're the main gig.
But
See?
usually I need a guitar in front of me and then all my worries go away. It's
Next
all
time,
good.
put that on the list.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Check, check.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, Sonny, of course, Lisa and I know you very well, but tell the viewers out there a little bit about you.
Sure. So my name's Sonny Newman, and I'm the business development manager at NBCC, of course. I grew up here in Miramichi. Went to school in Halifax at St. Mary's University, but always had a longing to come back and make it work here in my community that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. So I actually had a job starting out with Giver on the River magazine.
Oh my goodness, yes,
And,
of course.
uh,
Wonderful.
I was a marketing and sales consultant for Terry Matchett and his team at Mighty Miramichi. And
Terry's always done amazing things for the community.
and Terry's a great guy, and he was my first real boss.
Really, eh?
And I remember one day I got home from university, and he showed up on my doorstep, and he said, "You're coming to work for me Monday," and he said, "Here's a few dollars to go on the weekend. That's your sign-in bonus," and away we went. And I worked for Terry for I think over a year and a half, my first stint with him, and then I had dove into the political world, and I had worked under the Brian Glank government with Lisa Harris. She was the Minister of Seniors and Long-Term Care at the time, the Minister of Celtic Affairs. Which
incredible experience for
you. It was
you.
unbelievable. I was the executive assistant for her, and I kind of learned the intricacies of how government works.
Absolutely.
And honestly, it was an education that I couldn't have paid for.
Yeah.
I mean, I paid a lot for my university degree, but I felt like I got it back tenfold whenever I worked with the Premier Brian and Lisa and the Liberal team at the time. But yeah, then fast forward, government at the time had lost the election, and I was out of a job. Went back to what I was comfortable with. Went back and worked with Terry, but it was only for a month this time as I jumped forces with the working MB team at Petal. So I was a program officer for them for a couple of years, and shifted my talents to the NBCC team, and honestly, it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made for my career. I love it there. I love the people there. I love working with the students, and just being out in community and really keeping my ear to the ground on what the needs are in the labor market, and how NBCC can help fill those needs it's really amazing. And one thing, people really just don't know, I think, what's happening at MVCC, just in professional and part-time learning, and the great things that are happening only here in Miramichi. Like, it's not happening anywhere else. It's happening right here under our noses, and it's unbelievable work that's happening. But I guess in my personal life, I'm a musician.
Yes, you are.
I play in local restaurants and bars, I guess, in northern New Brunswick, a lot here in Miramichi, 2 to 3 times a week. It's been a very busy summer. Post-COVID, I feel like people are really ready to party now and have some fun.
They want to be out, right?
Yeah.
And enjoying
And they want to
it.
hear
Get back
music,
to life.
and music is such a connector, and it brings people together. I play baseball. We had just recently won the Miramichi Valley Baseball League Championship.
Congratulations.
We beat the Newcastle Cardinals. I'll give a little dig there.
Little dig in there.
Play for the Chatham Head Tigers.
Yeah.
And this weekend we represented our league at the provincial tournament in Trackety. We came up short. We lost 3-0 to Dieppe. But it was
Amazing
a
season.
really great experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I have 2 daughters, 2 beautiful daughters.
They are so cute.
Gray and
I get
Andy.
to see the pictures on social media.
And my wife, who's been so supportive through how busy I am, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do any of it without her.
Behind
So
every
thank
great
you, Holly,
man.
for everything
Behind every
that
great
you
man
do.
is a
Yeah.
great woman.
But no, life's good. I can't complain. I'm super busy, but I think I wouldn't have it any other way. I just need to be busy, and if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I would find something else
Something
to keep
else,
me busy.
yeah.
So it's just who I am. It's in me.
I love it.
So tell us a little bit more, Sunny, about your specific role at MBCC.
So at MBCC, I'm the business development manager.
Okay.
I'm responsible for contract training
Okay.
and customized training. So I work with industry, I work with government, I work with individuals of the community to put together training, execute training that's going to help New Brunswickers get into the workforce and really upskill our population. And we're
And it
doing
could
we're
be
doing
the-
a lot of stuff here in Miramichi.
And it could be the workforce at any level, like
Sure. I mean,
like trades or
yeah, I mean, if you're an employer listening right now, or a government employee, or just a patron in New Brunswick, and there's a type of training that you don't think's out there that you're like, man, this would really help, or could I train my staff in this, or like really like there's something that's missing, like give us a call. We're here to help. Like, we're super flexible. It's not like the regular side of the business where it's like, okay, you're going to start a 1-year program here in September and you're going to be done in April and we'll do it all again. It's like we can start when you want to start and we can really make it work. But MBCC's open for business, and we're open to really help New Brunswickers get into the workforce and fill those jobs that need to be filled. As we see, there's a lot of places that when you go into a convenience store that don't necessarily have the staff needed to
Absolutely.
run operations, or
Yeah.
fast food restaurants. Like, one of the contracts that we have is Workplace Essential Skills in partnership with Working New Brunswick, and it's helping unemployed or underemployed individuals upskill and get into the workforce, and it's such a beautiful program, and it helps so many people kind of get that hand up and get their start back into the workforce, whether they never worked before or whether they had a break of working. But we're doing amazing things.
So I'm a huge fan of the Workplace Essential Skills program, because when I still had the restaurant, we had 2 wonderful ladies come to work at the restaurant for their work placement through the Workplace Essential Skills program, and then they ended up staying with me.
Right.
Throughout, I mean, the restaurant wasn't open as long as I wanted it to be, but they ended up staying with me, and it was such an amazing experience for us, because we got to learn through them, and it was such a wonderful thing to see the changes in both of them as they
Right.
got their confidence back.
It's beautiful.
And
Yes.
and realized that what they were doing was important,
Right.
and for us it was critical, right? And so it was a great partnership between my business at the time and that program, because it was a win-win. And I can't say enough great about that program. But there's a lot of programs that are unique to Miramichi,
Right.
and we don't know about them, right?
Right.
We forget how
Right.
much happens around here. And so talk to us a little bit about those unique programs.
So I posted a picture a couple weeks ago, and I'm not sure if that's what sparked the invite to the show, but I posted a picture of myself in bunker gear for a
And I
firefighter
loved it. I'm like, oh my goodness.
for a firefighter program
Yeah.
that is exclusive to New Brunswick.
Yeah.
It's the only program of its kind. It's to train individuals. It's a pre-employment program to train individuals to be career firefighters.
Wow.
Like if you want to be a firefighter in the province of New Brunswick or anywhere else in Canada, my opinion is come to MBCC Miramichi and learn the skills and get the certification necessary to do so.
Yeah.
We host it right here in Douglastown at the Forest Training Center and the O'Keefe Road. People don't even probably know that it's there.
Well, we had all the firefighters here on the weekends.
Sure.
Right, for their fall training.
Right.
Which they do every year. We forget that they come every year, but we
Right.
had that happening this
So
weekend.
I'm actually responsible for the fire services portfolio as well. So any training that happens with the volunteer fire departments across the province, we actually have our own unit at MBCC that's responsible for the training. I don't administer the training.
Yes, yeah.
I'm still learning a lot about it.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to meet a couple of chiefs this week and next week. I'm going to be in the Woodstock, Fredericton, St. John area, and I'm going to check in with some chiefs there to see how we can improve on how we deliver our training and how we can improve our pre-employment program to make our students more hireable, because it is a very competitive market. And hey, who doesn't want to be a firefighter? It's a pretty sexy position to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that real life hero piece,
Right.
right, that you associate with firefighters or police or whatever it may be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I did do a drill, and just the equipment alone, like these guys are in tremendous shape. And I have so much respect for what our first responders do here in the province and the preparation, training, and sacrifice that's needed to do these jobs.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. And just to even have a simulation for 15 minutes or a half hour of some of the stuff that they have to train or some of the situations that they might need to go into, it's just incredible to think about, and super thankful that we have those people that are willing to go above and beyond and do those types of jobs.
Right.
As we're trying to find shelter, they're all, and all of our
It's
first
unreal.
responders. And
Not
all of our
everyone
first responders are in that boat, right? We're trying
when
to
we're
find
running
somewhere
away,
else.
when
Yeah.
we're running away from danger, they're running towards it.
Absolutely.
They're running towards it. So it's quite an eye-opening experience, I'm
It
sure,
is.
to see what they go through.
It is, and
what they have
that's
to
only
do.
one thing that's happening in Miramichi, but there's lots more that's happening. We run the only program in Atlantic Canada that's a mechanized forestry operator program.
Oh my goodness.
So basically, if you want to work on a harvester, a
Wow.
forwarder, you don't know how to operate machinery that's used in the woods to cut down trees and to get it roadside, Miramichi is the place where that happens.
Interesting.
This is amazing.
It is.
We're the
And
go-to place for so many things.
Originally, when I first came to MBCC, this was a full tuition program, and I think it was $15,950 to be specific. And now we partner with the Canadian Woodlands Forum and the provincial government, and tuition has been cut down to $3,500,
Oh my goodness.
which is really
Wow.
great. It's put on by CWF, but delivered, the first portion of the training is delivered through MBCC. So it's our program that we always ran.
Yep.
It was to a point where, how can we get tuition costs down for students where the demand it's an essential position in New Brunswick.
Absolutely.
So how can we create the demand for these individuals to come forward?
So for those of us who don't know, what's CWF?
Canadian Woodlands Forum.
Very good. Thank you.
Right. And I mean, the amount of applicants that we had was incredible.
Yeah.
And we're
And
actually
the only place in Atlantic Canada.
right.
It's
And
pretty amazing.
and we run programs for Nova Scotia. We ran programs last year for Nova Scotia for their provincial government, and
Wow.
our staff went down and ran a program. The place is skipping my mind right now, but it was somewhere in the middle of nowhere in Nova
You're having
Scotia.
a seniors moment. You're
No,
not
it
there
was
yet, but
great.
you're having a seniors
It was
moment.
great. Dad brain, we'll call it.
Yeah, there. Very good.
So, but right now we're actually in the middle of a program, and we have a block of wood in the middle of the Bathurst Highway.
Mm-hmm.
And students are learning how to cut down trees and bring them roadside, and really getting hands-on real life work experience.
Amazing.
And so they're 5 weeks in the classroom, 5 weeks in the field, and then
That's
they're partnered 5 weeks with an employer, and they're going to be directly
Wow.
hired by this employer and continue their training
Really?
with Forest Liaison. Yeah, it's a tremendous program, and if you are looking to work in the forestry sector in New Brunswick, again, MBCC Miramichi
Love
is the
it.
place to come.
Holy cow! I'm. Thank you for enlightening me and giving me this information, because I'm
Yeah.
always so interested in what MBCC Miramichi is doing.
Absolutely.
So the other thing I wanted you to discuss is with Anglophone School District North, there's a program you guys are partnering with called Pathway to College Programming.
Yes, it's the ICE program.
Okay.
So innovation, collaboration, education.
Yep.
So Rob Leonard, he's a good friend of mine. He works at Anglophone School District North. He has brought this forward, and they're a great partner at MBCC. Basically, what it is, it's a credit course for high school students in their 4th and 5th period that they can choose fields, and I actually got a little list here. Okay. So they have an intro to nursing and healthcare, they have an intro to teaching and education, an intro to aviation and aerospace, music production and songwriting, heavy construction, mechanized forest equipment operator, advanced electrical, and advanced welding. We don't partner on all of them, but there's a lot where we partner together, and there's actually a lot of their students that are really taking that pathway and taking our programs at MBCC. It's fantastic. And one of the big ones is heavy construction. Yeah. And that's one that I really didn't get to allude to earlier, but that's one thing that's happening here in Miramichi that's not happening across the province. We have the heavy equipment operator program here, and people come from all over Atlantic Canada to take our course. There's one happening right now, and actually we're partnering with North Shore Construction. We rent their equipment, we rent their site, and they're a fantastic partner, and they have been for a few years now. And Les and his team at North Shore really go above and beyond for our group at MBCC and ensure that we have a quality program, and we're sending people directly to work. And we have a great relationship with the Road Builders Association. Yep. And if we don't necessarily know where their jobs are, the Road Builders Association points us in the right way. But like people, there's employers that need to fill these positions, and we're doing everything we can at MBCC to help them with that.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Well, and I love that there's such a mix there in that list that you talked about, is that there's such a mix towards, the trades. And we talked about trades, off camera and how critical they are, but there's a little bit of everything there. There's, heading into what would be normally a university degree when we talk about nursing and things like that. The trades are really critical there, and also, things that we would say would be more passion induced and can be a great career, like that music and production, right? So I love that there's a good spread there, because it really will speak to so many people and so many of the students trying to figure out where they want to go.
Yeah. And so many people in the Miramichi can stay home for those first, second, third years. That's critical when you're going into that post-secondary university or education or college. It's crucial to have that support of your home life stability, I think. And I'm impressed with this ICE program.
Yeah, if I was in high school, I would be jumping in that. No questions asked.
Yeah. So our segment's over already. Wow. We had such a fantastic show today. I was so glad that Sunny was able to be joining us. We will have him back because there's still lots to talk about. So have a fantastic week, everybody. Wishing you all the best, and especially to all of our people back to school. Have a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.